Hold him. Now you listen to me, you hillbilly punk who thinks the world's still round. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's flat!
He's an interesting guy, man, and you know, he believes it. So, Kyrie, the Earth is flat, right? Yeah. So, whatever.
The Earth is flat. That's news.
That's news. Here we go.
Broadcasting straight to you from a large spaceship, currently at war with the mainstream scientific community. Hello everyone, and welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which propose that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure thousands of miles wide. Check it out at enclosedworld.com, or just Google Flat Earth Clues. If you can't find it, then you are not very good at the internet. For those of you listening to this on YouTube, you want to hear the show live as it happens, please go to Truth Frequency Radio for the latest schedule. If you're looking for something fun to do this spring, please check out Flat Earth Convention UK. That is flatearthconventionuk.co.uk, happening April 27th, 28th, and 29th in London, England. Also, be sure to check out Kyrie Irving's top-notch A-grade Nike commercial, airing everywhere, where he mentions Flat Earth, by the way. And, as far as I know, Mad Mike will be doing his launch sometime before the NFL Super Bowl pretty soon. Check local listings. And I don't know. It may happen, it may not. We'll see. The Mark Sargent Flat Earth Challenge is in effect. This is my personal declaration of war from Flat Earth against mainstream science. I, Mark Sargent, hereby put forth a challenge to any university, foreign or domestic, to debate or discuss the Flat Earth reality. The short version is this: you fly me in, take care of my hotel, and I'll face down any scientific body you put against me. My only debate requirement is that you have someone with a master's degree in a physical science, either participating in or supervising the event. Accept this challenge, and you will be treated with respect. If not, then you're just cowards hiding behind empty equations. Always looking for subject matter experts here on Strange World to either go with or go against the experts we've had so far. Who have we had so far? United States Navy missile instructor, United States Air Force navigator, a Marine Corps sniper instructor, a Navy submarine chief, an Army artillery radar operator, an Australian intelligence officer, an American flight instructor, an industrial engineer specializing in valves and seals, a career surveyor of over 32 years, an international shipping expert, a corporate travel agent, an air traffic controller, United States Army master gunner, an aviation and ground training combat expert, a USDA surveyor of 27 years, a 32nd degree Mason, an etheric science researcher, a commercial airline captain, a commercial airline pilot, an industrial vacuum expert, and a merchant marine. If you would like to join in with this group or go against them, by all means, let me know. You can contact me at msargent23 at comcast.net. That's msargent23 at comcast.net. Or you can call and leave a message at 303-494-6631. Most of the time I have to screen my calls because I get a lot of them. So with that, is there anything else here that I need to do before we get to emails? No. So let's get right to it. First email of the day is called Kejel Williams. Hello, Mark. I've been watching your video, and let's see here. This video is, yep, they are hiding God with the greatest lie ever, flat earth clues, and it's got, what, 3 million views or something like that? But getting up there. You have done an impressive amount of historical research. I have also noticed the enormous amount of conspiracy theories and theological reasoning entertained by flat earth supporters in general. As a response, I have tried to devise a simple experiment based on nothing more than simple geometry. It is essentially a sundial. I have imagined using a flagpole for this purpose and tracking the shadow of the top of the flagpole throughout one day. My predictions are: 1, north of the equator, the shadow of the top of the pole would trace out a curve that bends around towards the flagpole, regardless of whether the Earth is flat or spherical. 2, south of the equator, the curvature of the trace would be different for the two Earth models. For a spherical Earth, the trace would curve around towards the flagpole, just like the sundial north of the equator. However, for a flat Earth, the trace would curve away from the flagpole. Would you be interested in verifying my hypothesis on a flat Earth map at home and see if you agree with my predictions? Attaches an illustration. Best regards, Kejel. Oh, pronounced shell. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be the best guy for this, to be honest. There's all sorts of other people. If somebody else would like to volunteer for this, to look at what he's trying to do, in fact, here, let me give you his email address so you can contact him if you want to double check yourself. His email address is kjell.williams@gmail.com. So thank you for that. And yeah, honestly, I am a little busy to get involved directly with experiments like that anyway. But I will refer you to all sorts of other people that would be chomping at the bit. Champing at the bit? Whatever. Next one is called Heat from the Sun. Mark, try to picture driving down the highway in a car with a blow dryer next to another car at about 10 feet away. Now imagine trying to get the heat from the blow dryer from your car to the other while driving down the road. I think you'll probably see where I'm going with this, and I'm not sure that when we're traveling 500,000 miles per hour through space, the heat of the sun can get to the Earth. In fact, it sounds ludicrous to me. Thanks for your hard work, Wesley. Interesting, Wesley. Yeah, there's so many things wrong with the heliocentric model. The biggest one, though, and I really didn't notice it until a couple of years ago, was the fact that, again, it's not that the Earth spins or that the Earth goes around the sun. It's that the entire solar system is flying sideways like a dinner plate flying through space, not like a frisbee, but sideways to where it's face first through the galaxy at supposedly 500,000 miles an hour. There's so many things wrong with that. Most notably, the dead points in between the planets, where gravity should not, there's nothing that should be holding on to objects. So when we send a probe, supposedly to Saturn or Jupiter or even Mars, when it gets to one of those dead points where there's no gravity affecting it from anywhere, then how does it not get lost? It's similar to dropping a golf ball outside of a window. And yeah, aside from the wind, it's just going to lose energy really quickly, and then it's going to be gone. So anyway, moving on. Survival guide, please, thanks. And that's, please send me survival guide from Raymond. Welcome for that. I'm going to send him a survival guide and another survival guide. Mark, please send survival guide. Thanks, Ruth Laetz, Laetz. And what they're talking about, if you've never ever heard this before, is I made a survival guide that was inspired by the whole Katrina thing down in New Orleans back when the whole hurricane thing hit and nobody bothered to stock up any survival supplies at all. So I made a 110-page survival guide, which will help you in the event of a long-term power outage. It doesn't cover anything specific like zombies or alien attack or anything like that, but it will help you out, and it's free. absolutely free, because why would I charge for something like that? I mean, honestly, most of the people that get it are just going to keep it on their machine. They're not even going to print it out. So I'm hoping I can at least save one person, or at least help out one person. So if you want a free survival guide, all you have to do is email me to msargent23, msargent23 at comcast.net. And if you don't write that down, that's fine. That email address and my phone number is literally in the description of every single video that's on my YouTube channel. And all you have to do, you don't even have to say hi or anything. If you don't feel like being social, all you have to do is say, I want survival guide, and I will shoot it to you. It's only 2 megs, and you can do, I highly encourage you, though, to print it out if you get a chance. Moving on. This one is called Flat Earth Snow Globe. Dear Mr. Sargent, do you know where I can buy a Flat Earth snow globe or a model like the ones in your video? Thank you, Share. I don't think that's the real Share, even though the email address literally is Share for real. Don't think it's Share. There's all sorts of Flat Earth merchandise out there. I have not actually seen an actual physical Flat Earth snow globe with water and little flakes of glitter in it. But if you want to check out the big expensive models, the big full-blown models, these are the ones I highly endorse, go to Chris Pontius. Not the jackass Chris Pontius, but the Flat Earth Chris Pontius. Hopefully he'll be more famous than the jackass Chris Pontius before it's over. And you can check him out at flatearthmodels.com. Go there and have fun with that, because there's a lot of really, really cool stuff. They aren't cheap. I mean, there's some cheaper stuff. The ones without the domes are not very cheap, but I mean, he makes some really high quality stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look up the videos. All you have to do is type in Flat Earth Chris Pontius, and you'll see some of the videos on YouTube. And the ones that he's making now are even more advanced. The domes are much more shallow. They're lit with star constellations, and he does an amazing job with LED technology. So anyway, that's what you guys should check out if you get a chance. This one's called Please Help. Okay. Mark. I'm listening with an open mind, but there's one question I just can't wrap my head around. If the dome or what we're in has been there for years, who built it? They didn't have the type of TechNet. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the last. Sorry, you guys have probably heard this before. You've heard my email show. She followed that up with, how are we experiencing weather? That's literally the question. Thank you, Vanessa. And what weather can't exist in an enclosed system? If the enclosed system is large enough, in fact, weather is easier because it is a enclosed pressurized system, which of course deals with the gravity and atmosphere question, which is how does the very, very, let me throw one more, very powerful force of vacuum, which is the empty vacuum of space, not rip off the entire atmosphere. It's because there's no vacuum there. It's because there's a barrier between whatever we are in here and whatever's outside there, and I don't think it's a vacuum. Because an enclosed system would take care of that instantly, which is the atmosphere can't go anywhere because it's in an enclosed system. Kind of like trapping smoke underneath a glass. The glass keeps the smoke inside. There's no vacuum. If there was a true vacuum of space out there, it would completely shred our atmosphere. It would completely rip it off. So, just saying. Moving on. This one's called Flat Earth Examples, Ripples in a Pond or Slice of Swiss Cheese, Just Too Many. That's literally the title. Hey there, Mark. I just want to ask you a question and say thanks. I am seeing everything so much clearer since I have opened my eyes to a flat Earth. I have watched many YouTube videos by yourself and others, done loads of research on the interwebs, etc. My question, is there so many ideas as to what the world map is like outside the Great Ice Wall, Ring of Ice, etc.? I have seen many examples posted by other flatties. I still don't, flat earthers. Flatties, I don't know, just don't like it. You know why? I think the reason I don't like flatties as much is because of the derogatory term towards overweight people, fatties. You know, fat people are called fatties sometimes, and flatties is so close to that. Anyway, just a couple of examples. Number one, as if the Great Ice Wall is like a ripple in a pond. Past this is more land masses than another wall of ice, then more land, etc., like ripples in a pond. Or number 2, like a slice of Swiss cheese, and our flat Earth map is just one hole in the slice, i.e. you could travel across the ice and into any number of holes that contain similar worlds as our own. Do you have any theory as to how the map could look behind the ice wall, ring, etc.? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks again. Liked and subscribed. Keith in Arkansas, previously France. Before that, UK. God, I gotta, okay, before I even finish this PS, I gotta say, no, whatever's out, I try to live one world at a time. Lots of people say, well, what's outside? Of course, everyone wants to get to the end of the book. I don't know what's outside. But whatever it is not what you think it is. It's not outer space. It's not any sort of space at all. I think we're in a giant room outside of this. I think there's other worlds besides this one, other enclosed worlds. And you're just part of a small, you're just part of a small system that's part of a larger system that's part of a larger system. But don't try to think of it that in those sort of terms. Look, live one world at a time. Enjoy what you are here. What was it Dennis Leary said? Every day, one beer at a time. Every beer, one sip at a time. Break it down. Go micro. Don't go macro. Seriously, one day at a time. That's all you can ask for. He goes, P.S. Picture this image for another badge idea, NASA being a dung beetle. Wow, this guy comes up with stuff. With NASA logo on its back, pushing the ball idea. Ball is the globe, obviously, with crap written on it in big letters, i.e. a big ball of crap. Sorry, whenever I see a globe now, I see this image in my head. LOL. Thank you. And that's from... Did he even say his name? No, he didn't. Oh, yeah, Keith. Keith in Arkansas, previously France, before that UK. The guy gets around. Now, why he went from the United Kingdom to France and then ended up in Arkansas, I don't know. I keep thinking of that Forrest Gump thing. When people say Arkansas. The Forrest Gump, it's like, Arkansas, huh? Yeah. No, he said, what was it? He mixed up the states, and he goes, Little Rock's a fine town. But I think he initially mentioned Alabama. That doesn't matter. Okay, that was Lieutenant Dan. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, this one's called Admiral Byrd Interview. Mark, I have an idea that I had thought of a couple months back. What if Admiral Byrd lied about the land on the other side of Little America? Maybe he said that just to try to get others curious enough to go searching so they could find the dome themselves, because he didn't say anything about it. He knew he couldn't tell no one. I'm not sure if the interview was before the Antarctic Treaty or not, but maybe that had something to do with the treaty being made to keep curious people from going. Because it seems that if there were only land, they could have claimed way back when that our so-called planet is bigger than they did claim it to be, and it wouldn't mind sucking the resources dry. Because we are, but I can tell he's using a phone because he's abbreviating a bunch of stuff with phone text. Because we already know they don't care about land at all as long as it's making the rich richer. So it's got to be something other than just more land. So I do believe that Admiral Byrd did find the dome. Can you imagine him saying that in an interview on television? No, he definitely couldn't. So he lied and said what he did, hoping others would go find it. Not expecting a treaty to be made, especially one that all countries actually agreed to. What do you think about that, brother? God bless you, a plain earther. I'm not exactly sure I understand this giant paragraph. Do they not care about the land? Well, no, yeah, they didn't care about the resources because this thing is bigger than money. Meaning it didn't matter how much money you made down there. Let's say you made billions, which you would have made. There were too many loose ends. You weren't going to let a plane. I mean, it was something I talked about during the clues, which is you can't let anyone go off course because then you would have a loose end. Somebody sees something they shouldn't. Well, what are you going to do to keep them quiet? and it'd just be too much trouble, and too many corporations, and it would just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it would just be a pain in the ass. I wouldn't do it if I was running that show. I definitely wouldn't do it. So that's what we're talking about here. Something that's bigger than money, where the money just isn't worth the hassle. So anyway, moving on. This one is called Interesting Perspective. Hello, Mark. It's my usual can't sleep 3 a.m. wandering the internet to occupy a restless mind time, and I've stumbled across your YouTube videos. I wanted to reach out, see if this email is valid. If so, I look forward to conversing with you and sharing in an intellectual circle. That's from Jeff Capron, C-A-P-R-O-N. And yes, this is my actual, it's the only email I've ever really used, which is for 20-something years, actually probably 23 years now. It was given to me by Comcast randomly. I just wanted msargent@comcast.net, and the closest they could get me back, and this was back in the 90s, was msargent23@comcast.net. And I've had it ever since, and gone through, I'm just glad Comcast is still around doing their thing. So I didn't have to give it up, but I've used it for a long time. So thank you for that. This next one is called The Clues. Dear Mark, thanks so much for your perfect, comprehensive, understandable presentation of The Clues. Cognitive dissonance is very powerful, isn't it? Don't push, but allowing things to sink in. Mark, did I realize or perhaps imagine that in your director's cut, the authorities fall back on the destructive power of Nibiru to level the field once humanity becomes close to realizing the truth of the flat Earth? Thank you, Tony. And yeah, Tony, I used to be, as some of you already know, I used to be a Nibiru guy. I totally believed it. In fact, Nibiru was one of the reasons I upped my survival supplies and really got, hunkered down, for the big one, because why not? Nibiru was a great story. The backstory of Nibiru was excellent. The fact, and people don't know what we're talking about here, the fact that we were a part of a larger binary star system, and that a lot of the star systems in our galaxy were binary, and that our other star, the sister star to us, was a dark red sun that was almost impossible to see. It was very, very, it was practically invisible unless it was up close. And every once in a while, if you know anything about binary star systems, if you believe in the whole heliocentric model, is that they come closer to each other. They have these huge gravity pull, and they sort of do this little dance, little do-si-do, where they get close to each other and then fly off apart for a little ways, and then get closer to each other and fly off apart. And this takes thousands and thousands of years to do. And when that happens in our system, it completely wipes out our civilization. Problem with that is that the Nibiru system predictions were years ago. And by that I mean there were some people who are predicting it as early as late 2010, and then 11, and then 12, and I was fully prepared. I mean, there was a reason why the movie 2012 was made with John Cusack, and although it didn't really cover Nibiru directly. In fact, the closest thing we've had to Nibiru in terms of movies was When Worlds Collide, and that was back in the 50s. I don't think no one's ever done a Nibiru movie. Anyway, I'm sorry. It was a planet. It wasn't a solar system. Look up a movie called Melancholia, which was directed by Lars von Trier, I believe, and I'm just going out. I'm not typing in trying to look it up. I could, but I'm going to be lazy. Starring Kirsten Dunst and Alexander Skarsgård and Kiefer Sutherland. It was a pretty good cast, and Kirsten Dunst won a whole bunch of awards over in Europe. But that was about a planet. There was a rogue planet that was coming through our solar system and eventually hit us and wiped us out. Spoiler alert, by the way, everybody dies in the end. But that's what Nibiru was really about. And everyone said, oh yeah, it was happening in 2012. And then when it didn't happen, people said, oh, we must have gotten the calendar wrong. It's 2013. And then the year, 2014, 15, 16, 17. Look, it's 2018. If Nibiru shows up now, do not believe it. Not for a second. It is not what you, if it again rears its ugly head in the sky, don't believe it for a second. It's not out there. Plus, if it's an enclosed system, that's going to be just a light show. Now, you may see something in the sky, and there may be some great fireworks, but it is not a rogue sun that's going to wipe us out. Not going to happen. So, sorry, my little rant on that. In case you didn't know what Nibiru was, there are people still, to this day, talking about Nibiru. Still. Even now. Next one's called Another Question to Ask NASA. Mark, after the moonwalk, did they repressurize the lunar lander, or did the astronauts just wear their spacesuits? There isn't an airlock on the lunar lander, so they would have to depressurize, then repressurize after each moon. That's an excellent question. Nobody's ever brought that up. You're absolutely right. There isn't an air. The capsule wouldn't even begin to be big enough to even have an airlock. Either the air would go into the vacuum of space, or they would have to have a vacuum pump strong enough to reclaim the air. How strong would the pump need to be to accomplish this? If it went into space, they would need to carry enough air to repressurize the lunar lander. It doesn't look like they carried enough for this. If they just wear their suits all the way home, they would be able to drink or go to the bathroom until they got back to Earth. When they opened the lunar lander, when they docked with command module inside, the vacuum in the lunar lander would just suck the air out of it. There would need to be enough air to repressurize the command module as well. You know what? Excellent point. I don't know if anyone's ever brought that up, which is, yeah, how did you get up? We're gonna go to our first break here in a bit. But if I run long, that's fine. I'll just kind of bleed into it. But that's an excellent, and that's from Paul. Thank you, Paul, for writing this. Yeah, I don't think I've ever even thought of that, which is we take so many things for granted because of the science fiction in movies, which is, okay, how in the world, when you open up the airlock or the door to the exterior of the moon, they would just get sucked out in 2 seconds. Plus, you would be wasting a whole bunch of oxygen. So how did you have enough pressure to go back into the system? That's amazing. I never would have thought of that. Excellent point. And somebody bring that up. Somebody look it up in the NASA specs. Where was the airlock on the capsule down on the moon? Wow. 2 years, 2+ years, going on 3 years, and it didn't even occur to me. Anyway.
Здравствуйте, Gorbachev.
Hello, Colby. This is the White House. Ronald Reagan speaking.
Hello, my old friend. How are you today?
Finally, it's time for a daily chess match. Are you ready?
Yes. My last move yesterday was a queen from
Welcome back to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, and we're doing more mailbag stuff, because Lord knows I get a lot of it. So let's get right to it, shall we? This one's called Survival Guide Download. Hi, Mark. Thanks for all you do to expose the scientism is. It is much appreciated. I look forward to the download. Stay flat, John. And yep, I'm going to keep sending them out. If you guys want a free survival guide, please print it out if you get a chance, or at least read it. I still haven't had that many people that have gotten the guide, and it's only 100 pages. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It goes over if you want to listen, I actually read most of the survival guide in some of the early episodes of Strange World. You can look it up. It's literally in the first 10 episodes of Strange World. I go through the survival guide. But the gist of it is that you got the four big things. If you're not even going to get the survival guide, at least listen to this part, which is in order of priority: water, because you can only go 3 days without water; food, because you need food, and you can only go, even if you have like no body fat, you can last like 30 days on just water, even if you don't have food, but you need food. And then the third thing, most people go, oh, your weapons or this or that or shelter or whatever. No, it's light sources. That's the big thing. You got to be able to see, because when the power goes out, it is a very, very dark world. We take a lot of things for granted, and the biggest thing we take for granted is how everything is lit up. I don't know if you've ever been in a place where the power goes out. I mean, you shut off your house at night. You still have street lights outside. You still have, your neighbors' houses' lights and stuff like that. I grew up in a rural island up in the Northwest, and most of the roads don't have street lights on them. When you turn off your headlights, it is pitch black unless you have moonlight. So imagine that that's outside. Inside, it's even darker. You have rooms in your house right now that don't have any light in them, most notably like interior bathrooms. And imagine your whole house being like that. The point is, without light, I know I'm beating a dead horse here. Without light sources, you won't be able to see your food. You won't be able to see your water. You won't be able to see intruders. You won't be able to really do anything. You'll be limited to daylight. And what if you're in a place where the weather's really bad and it's really, really cloudy? Point is, get a whole bunch of flashlights or lanterns or whatever. So those are the big top three: water, food, light sources. And then, of course, the fourth thing is just defend it with something. I don't care what it is. And remember, this is the short version of the survival guide for you guys, which is, I don't care what you use. If you think you can defend your stash, we'll just call it a stash, with a 9-iron from your golf bag, or a machete, or a baseball bat, that's fine. Great, fantastic. But don't forget, if you're inside the United States, or quite a few places in Canada, you're going to run into a lot of guns, especially when it comes to survival situations. I've talked to way too many people that have told me their plan for any sort of apocalypse survival situation. Their plan is to, I'm not kidding you, I'm not making this up, is to they have one priority. They have a gun, and they're going to steal supplies from other people. And I consider some of these people quality individuals, but it's amazing, that logic. It's all guys, of course. That's the logic that goes through their head. It's like, why do I need to stock up food and water? I'm just going to use my gun and steal it from other people. It's like, holy smokes, that is the worst thing ever. So if you're going to have a stash, defend it with something. And again, not telling you to go buy a gun. If you're a victim of domestic violence, or you hate guns, or you hate the idea of guns, fine, don't buy a gun. But at least buy a fake gun. If you're really talented, if you own a bow and arrow, fine, defend it with a bow and arrow. Whatever. I'm sorry. This is not a survival guide show. I'm just mentioning this to you guys because it's out there. I've talked to enough people that's their plan. And so people knock on your door. It could be your best friend. You don't know. When the chips are down, who can you trust? That's my dark little message for the second segment. Anyway, let's get back to happy emails, shall we? This one is called Hello Mark. Mark, seen the Clues videos and now I am hooked. I still take an open-minded approach to everything and take notes so I can follow up. So far, I am very grateful I found you. By the way, I am also 47 and into things like quantum physics, and would have not been able to grasp and or be convinced regarding flat Earth if not for my self-taught and newfound passion towards sacred geometry, physics, sound vibrations, and frequencies. But what really gave me the tools to understand the flat Earth theory is just learning about the basic lies in the dogma science community, like spooky string theory, dark matter. Is it really called spooky strings theory? I thought it was called quantum string theory. Or quantum entanglement. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Strong force and or gravity. All are nothing more or less than things that traditionally science has made up for that they cannot explain. They try and confuse us with elaborate calculations, even though some of us love math and can also see their numbers for what they are. Beautiful way of artistically theorizing elaborate calculations. So, if not for the studies of physics and traditional science in the last 2 years, I do not think I would have been attracted to the flat Earth world theory. I believe that I am going to be able to connect low consciousness quantum physics, sacred geometry, and frequencies all tie into the flat Earth world and the clues past civilizations tried to leave us. In my view, the flat Earth world makes more sense in many ways, and the big secret that the powers that be, the Cabal, New World Order, and etc. have on all of us, and that is why we are not in their club. I look forward to more of your shows. Sincerely, Jay Granda. You're welcome, Jay, and thank you for reaching out. Moving on. This one's called Flat Earth Topic. Hi, Mark. My name is Elaine. I am currently watching your YouTube video on the Flat Earth topic. I am, as you are, a truth searcher and also believe so many things are hidden from us, but I think there are other explanations. I would like to address my views, not to blindly dismiss what you are saying, but in a genuine truth-seeking debate. Years ago, I was an airline pilot and was amazed how high out there I could see Earth curvature. Not through some curved window distortion, as the cockpit windows are flat, and that no distortion was noticed on the ground. I will comment as I watch your videos on some topics you address. First, about high altitude nuclear testing, I think other explanations can be retained. I don't think this guy's a believer, by the way, if you haven't figured that out by now. Can be retained. Nevertheless, if I believed that Earth was surrounded by a dome that would prevent oxygen escaping, I would think twice before trying to break it. Well, yeah, you might. It could just be a way to test the newly made missiles without having too much deadly radiations on Earth, the same way they did the underground testing. I also do believe there's a good possibility mankind never got to the moon, so yeah, there's a massive cover-up there, mainly because of the high space radiation that we still don't know how to shield. Van Allen belts protect us on Earth. Wow, this guy is totally drinking the Kool-Aid. But we still cannot go above them without facing death. As airplanes fly higher and higher, pilots also start facing some health problems due to the repetitive exposure to that radiation. I do think that something is fishy, and the reason why Antarctica is banned could be to prevent seeing military bases or entrances to the hollow Earth, a theory that seems to be more plausible than the flat Earth. Or else, Air New Zealand had a sightseeing flight over the Antarctic between 1977 and 1979. One of their DC-10s crashed on Mount Erebus. Airplane routes seem curved on a flat map because they fly a great circle, shortest route over a sphere. That would be a straight line up there. In the old days, you would need to regularly alter your heading as you go, but with GPS assistance, that has become much easier. You just fly the GPS and watch the slight heading changes as you go. But it's true that nowadays, flights routing close to the pole go the extra mile to stay well clear from the South Pole. GPS is nowadays a convenient tool, but it is not allowed to be a primary means of navigation. So an airplane always follows airline routes based on ground stations, VORs or NDBs, so it flies straight between those points, but not straight from departure to arrival. That accounts for the extra distance covered on a flight. Also, taking also in account that usually you would have a VOR on an island, but not in the middle of the water, so your route cannot just be planned by drawing a straight line on a map. Secondly, when an airplane flies for security reasons, the pilot always needs to keep in mind a possible emergency airport in case something goes wrong. In case of ETOPs, otherwise known as extended range twin engine operation, an approved airline can allow an airplane to fly up to 3 hours away from an airport at a reduced speed corresponding to one engine out. That wouldn't allow it to fly directly over the water for 9 hours. If you lose an engine in the middle of your flight, you'll have to fly slower and lower, use more fuel, and you'll also probably would have no radio contact with anyone. The VHF has about 100 nautical mile range. That would decrease with a decrease of altitude. Your passengers would have a slim chance of survival. So you would fly an approved route, keeping away the possibility to reach an airport 3 hours away should an emergency arise. Also, about tracking airplanes. That is not based on GPS. Same for your phone. Your phone knows where it is because of your GPS, but when you track your phone, it sends a signal through the network. If you're in the middle of the desert, your GPS should work, but no one would be able to see where you are. It's the same with airplanes. They receive GPS positioning, but are tracked through a secondary surveillance radar that communicates with a box in the airplane called a transponder. When you are away from a ground station about 100 nautical miles, it will lose contact and give an estimate of your position based on the pilot's radio reports. Even the radio goes out of range, and the pilot needs to use an HF radio to report at fixed intervals his position, his next estimate, and that all is well. The HF has heavy crackling and is a pain to use. Sometimes even the HF is out of reach. So often a pilot speaks to another plane in the vicinity to have him relay information. Radio range between airplanes is better because they are both high. So seeing your flight disappear is normal. As soon as it gets away from the ground station, and if you have an estimate of its time of arrival, you should see it reappear on the other side. Admiral Byrd's story, in my point of view, tends to lead to the fact that something's going on in the Antarctic continent, be it Nazi bases, aliens, hollow earth, or something else, I don't know, more than the idea that it doesn't exist and it's just an ice barrier and the edge of a dome. So yes, there is something important and strange there, but concluding it's the dome seems to me too big of a shortcut. About the maps, they are a projection of the Earth's sphere on a flat piece of paper. Depending the use of the map, you will have a different projection. For around the equator, you use Mercator. For the tropics, you use Lambert's. That would project along the tropics. And for the poles, you use the polar stereographic chart. The same one centered on Antarctica also exists. I don't know why the UN picked that one. Maybe just because being round is best fitted for a logo and is centered on the north that controls the world. Many explanations can apply. Deciding to pick the flat Earth explanation from all possibilities to me is stretching a bit far. USGS has all different possible projections, and one of them happens to be centered on the north as the flat Earth model. Yes, you can tell the guy wants he wants to buy it, but he can't. He can't. The conditioning is just killing him. How much more we got on this? Yeah, I got a little bit more. In the Dark Ages, religions believed the Earth was flat. That makes sense if you were not aware of oh boy, here we go. Aware of gravity. How could you explain how people in the South wouldn't fall? That's because there aren't people in the South. You can't. We won't get into this right now. In those days, people were uneducated. Here we go. And being able to stand without falling naturally gave the idea of a flat surface. Or it could actually be flat. That's me. That doesn't mean they were right. They were often blindly superstitious and oblivious of a lot of things we take for granted now, like microorganism, illnesses and hygiene, functions and constitution of the body. I know that even nowadays we still don't know much, and the science and medicine hides us lots of truths and offers us lies after lies. But still, if the flat Earth model exists, why build it flat? Because it's easy. That's why. You know what? I'm not going to answer his question. I'm just going to read it as is because there's a whole bunch of question marks coming up. Nature tends to shape malleable things with time in a sphere, like the planets. To me, the projection of the sun on the moon's sphere would be difficult to explain otherwise. Drops of water falling tends also to take a spherical shape, be it gravity or surface tension, or else we don't know yet, a fluid or malleable object, and everything is malleable given enough time, would take in space a spherical shape. Again, you're assuming there's space. If someone would like to keep us prisoners, why choose a flat model in a dome? Again, because it's easy. When a sphere would work better, no, it wouldn't, and not arise any suspicion. And the questions get worse and worse. And who devised that plot? God? And if so, why? If I was him with all his powers, I would choose the spherical Earth. No, you wouldn't. Pretty good prison. If you walk long enough, you return to where you started. If you want to leave up, the radiation void, lack of oxygen would stop you. Same if it's aliens or gods of the old world. It seems to me a great effort they made to build a flat Earth with land far from the ridge, with temperature decreasing as you approach the poles, nothing growing there, thick enough and with smelting plants that would be the volcanoes. Why such effort when the spherical model does all that simply? If I was the boss, I would fire that engineer to make all that so complicated when a simple sphere and rotating luminaries would make all that. Wow. And this is why, again, don't want to get into it. Let's see here. The model often described as we're almost done, of a torch-like sun orbiting over the flat Earth doesn't explain how the sun sets below the horizon, and I witnessed that often, even chase the sun setting when I was flying west. In the flat model, one would see it fading smaller in the distance and still above ground. I do believe in God, even if I believe in the spherical Earth. I think we are isolated from the divine as a sort of test to find our essence. or a survival game we decided to participate in eons ago, and that someone is probably looking at how we are doing so far. But to me, that doesn't contradict the idea of building the model in a natural, simpler way. How nature manages to reproduce, change, self-sustain, evolve is perfect. A masterwork, cleverly designed. If I was to create a video game, I would program in the same way. So to have an ever-changing, self-sustaining background, you would just need to concentrate on the players. Kind regards, Elaine. I know that was a really long email, and normally I don't read long ones. But that last, I'm sorry, I got a comment on that last paragraph. He said, if I was to create a video game, I would program it the same way. No, you absolutely would not. 99% of all virtual video games are programmed on a flat, perfectly flat, enclosed world. Plain and simple. There are almost no, in fact, you could probably count them on one hand, simulations that deal with spherical worlds. And the reason is because the players on the ground don't notice it. They believe the illusion. All you have to do is tell them it's a sphere and say, oh yeah, you're living on a globe, and you program it perfectly flat. They are not going to notice. Not saying that God is lazy. I'm not saying that advanced civilizations are lazy. I'm saying that they're very, very efficient. If the population inside that world believes in the illusion, that's what you go with. You don't have to build a spherical world, because a spherical world doesn't, he keeps saying, oh, it's so much easier, and a spherical world is a much easier design. No, it's not, because a spherical world, here's the big thing, does not exist on its own. It can't. It needs a sun. It needs other planets. It needs space. It needs a vacuum of space. It needs quantum physics. It needs so many things. The spherical world cannot survive on its own, where an enclosed world can be put anywhere. It's a self-sustaining system. It's like a little terrarium you can carry around with you anywhere. It literally needs nothing compared to a sphere. So Elaine is, I see where we're going. I mean, he covered a lot of points. I'm assuming it's a guy. There's a lot of points here that were covered, but they're old points and they're traditional conditioning. So anyway, moving on. See if we can get at least a couple more emails before this section ends. This one's called Satellites. Mr. Sargent, disclaimer, I am an atheist. I believe in science and the globe model, but I am intrigued by what you see as evidence for the flat earth. I am an average person with no connections to any agency that could be hiding a flat earth. I am an active duty soldier of 18 years, an amateur astronomer. This sounds really familiar. Have I read this one before? Amateur astronomer and family man. My question for the flat earth theory is, what are the satellites we see in the sky at night? There are multiple programs designed by amateur groups. Oh no, it just sounds similar because I get a lot of the similar ones. Designed by amateur groups that could not be associated with any vast conspiracy that predict the appearance of various satellites in the ISS. I use them frequently while sitting in my hot tub at night to see what streaks of light we can expect for the night. There's another website that predicts ISS solar lunar transits for your location. The transit footprints on the ground are so small that being in the wrong spot, yeah, I have read this before. And he's, let's just finish it, heck with it. By more than 1/2 mile means you will not see it. I've used it once so far with success and took a series of pictures through my telescope. My shutter isn't too fast. I only got 5 shots of it as it transited over 1.8 seconds. My focus was also off a little bit, so there were no sunspots for me to get a good focus during the transit. I personally didn't see it, just mashed the shutter button and prayed it worked, and it did. If the sun is either a projection or on a track, what is the object I took a picture of, and how was it only visible at that point on the ground rather than everywhere? I should have not been able to find any. I've not been able to find any answers on this online. I apologize if this has already been addressed. Thank you for your time, Blake Furman. And yeah, I already addressed it because I already read this one. And again, when you want to look at satellites, you want to look at some fun stuff, get some night vision binoculars, go outside and start watching satellites and follow them across the sky. And eventually what you're going to start seeing is satellites that start acting like not satellites. Things that start acting really, really strange. And again, you'll only be able to see them with night vision binoculars. I mean, I know when you look up there in the sky right now, you can see lights going across. You go, oh, there's satellites. No. When you look with night vision binoculars, when your eyes are adjusted, you gotta stay out there for a little while, like 30 minutes to get your eyes really adjusted, because when you go from night to day, your eyes adjust much, much quicker. When you're doing night vision, it takes you a while for your eyes to really kick in. the whole rods and cones thing. So when you're looking up there with night vision binoculars, you'll see all sorts of stuff. It's almost like they live in the difference. The sky is just crawling with things, and you've got to wonder what they are. Anyway, we won't get into that right now. This one's called, hey, look at that, Survival Guide. Mark, been a fan for a year and a half now. Love all that you're doing and the Flat Earth Clues. Please send me your survival guide. Thank you, Bill Nolte, like Nick Nolte, from Billings, Montana, and he would like to meet others from this area if you could put the word out. His phone number is 406-697-8693. So if you know anybody in the Montana area, I know Montana's a big place, so it's big. It's a big state. There's a lot there. In fact, I don't think one of the states that still doesn't have a speed limit, so it's like the Autobahn out there. But if you want to contact Bill Nolte, he wants to do a Flat Earth meetup in Montana. Cool. I got time for a couple more. This one's called Coast to Coast. Mark, please send me the Coast to Coast raw video. Thanks, Sean. And what I think he's talking about is actually the raw audio, because Coast to Coast is a radio show. And what he's mentioning here is that I did 2 Coast to Coast interviews. One with George Norrie back in 2015, and one just recently with one of the substitute DJs. And unfortunately, I cannot, because Coast to Coast doesn't like anything reproduced. It was one of the few copyright strikes that was actually thrown at me. I had it overturned, of course, because I didn't put it on my channel. They made me sign a disclosure agreement which said I could not put it up on YouTube. But I have the raw audio, so if you guys want it, just email me a thing and I'll shoot it to you. They're too big though. Remember, my most email, at least mine are, because I'm not gonna say Comcast sucks. I haven't really had any complaints with those guys, but they cap your email out at 25 megs. Excuse me, I need a drink. Cap it out at 25 megs, and so I'll send it to you through WeTransfer. It's a fun little program that somebody turned me on to. And even if you don't use the premium, the free part is you can send 2 gigs to anybody you want. 2 gigs is plenty, and it's as fast as your transfer rate, and it's pretty good. So if anyone wants the Coast to Coast interviews, the George Norrie one's actually pretty good, considering I'd only been doing this for 3 months when they contacted me, which was fantastic. All right, moving on. This one, ooh, geez, do I have time? 2 minutes, yeah. This one's called Mark. What about underlit clouds? Hi, Mark. I see so many evident demonstrations of a flat model, but here's an observation to the contrary. And believe me, I cannot agree to the sphere model, which has no curvature. So, how on earth can we observe underlit clouds at sunrise or sunset if the sun is always above the sight line, except that perspective forces the sun to appear below, but is only an illusion? This is an observation which must place the sun rays beneath the clouds. Unless the light is being reflected off the water, now I'm really confused. Underlit clouds, and he sends the link. Cheers, Rob from Toronto, Canada. All right, so Rob, if you, because this is a radio show, there's not much I'm going to be able to do visually for you. Best examples, you want to look up what's going on with the sun, the two channels. I mean, there's a whole bunch of channels. But you know what? Easiest way to do this, go into YouTube and just type in Flat Earth Sun, and you'll get a whole bunch of references. But my 2 favorite channels that talk about this, one is DITRH, otherwise known as Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. The other one is Zeticism.com. That's literally the name of the, just type in Zeticism into Flat Earth and you'll get it. That's done by Jeffrey Grupp, and they both do some great stuff on what's going on with the sun. Jeffrey specializes in sundogs, and David from Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole specializes in the sun at a distance. So check out both those, like them, subscribe to them. But again, support your community. Definitely subscribe to as many Flat Earth channels as you can, and there is a whole bunch of them out there. So that's about it. We will come back here in just a few. Welcome back to Strange World, Part 3 of 4. We're doing mailbag show, trying to clear out as many as we can that happened in 2017, because I know we're already starting up with 2018, and thank you for everybody that's emailed me so far. Remember, you can email me directly, msargent23 at comcast.net. That's msargent 23 at comcast.net. Let's get right to it. This one is called Hello Mark. Let's see here. Hi Mark, I am aware now that you won't get these email messages for a long while. Well, it depends. Time is relative. Also know that you always get back to everyone. I try to get back to everyone when I can. I was wondering, did Robert the NATO guy ever complete his tests and send you the info? Even the one he did with the camera on his roof. Thanks again, and really enjoying your shows. I'm on a binge and can't get enough of them. Thank you, Jay. And no, Robert never did send me the raw data on the telescope. I think he was doing it with Polaris. But there's so much other time-lapse footage that's out there. Remember when the NATO people, when Navy guys that were doing that stuff, that was back in 2015 and the beginning of 2016. So since then, we've had a whole bunch of people doing all sorts of fun tests. In fact, my latest favorite test, and I don't think it's even a month old, was a guy that did it with his wife on the ice. Was shooting across a lake that was starting to freeze up. And I think it was like 7.5 miles. And he actually got his camera. His camera was like 3 feet above the ice, where his prongs were like sitting on the ice. And his wife on the other side had a flashlight to where she set it. It was one of those square boxy flashlights. She set it literally on the ice, which was on the water. So we're talking, the light source was literally right there. And it was amazing because, again, it should have been gone. There's no way you should have seen that over the curvature, and there it was. So tell me how that happened. People talk about what they want about atmospheric effects, but when you're doing it in really, really cold weather, those atmospheric effects are diminished by a huge amount. So even though I know it's uncomfortable, nobody likes to go down to the beach when it's frozen. If you have a lake or an inlet that gets frozen over, what a great place to do a test on. Like the engineer that did a snowmobile test where he was firing a laser across this frozen thing, and I think he took a snowmobile and was riding over it, and he could see it. And again, it minimizes the heat waves and any sort of distortion. So, all right, moving on. This one's called Flat Earth. Hello, Mark. My name is Sharon, and I've been watching your Flat Earth series. You're pointing out how planes, when flying over the oceans, turn off their GPS. So it's not that they turn off their GPS. It's turned off for them. We can't see them anymore. I've been on many cruises at sea, and when we get out of range of the shore, we also lose GPS and service. I'm wondering if it is because the oceans have no signal towers like the land does. I also wanted to ask you if you've ever been on a plane flying over any oceans. I have been flying over oceans, but I haven't done the major trips. Like, I've flown across part of the Atlantic when I was doing the Virgin Islands, but I didn't cross the whole thing. But I did get to cross the entire Atlantic I completely forgot about that, when I went to Egypt. So, yeah, the northern oceans, yes, but the big southern ones, like the South Atlantic, the South Pacific, and the Indian Ocean, no, I've not been down there. And that's what we're talking about, those three oceans. And interesting, though, that the cruise boats do the same sort of thing, where you lose the GPS when you're down there. Why would you do it? In fact, cruise ship, you'd think they'd have massive systems built in, because loss of life, you have a huge amount of people on cruise ships compared to an airplane. So why don't, and weight wouldn't be an issue. You could carry huge radar systems and huge GPS transponders, but why aren't you? Planes, when you want to say they have an excuse because of weight, which I doubt, then that's one thing. But cruise ships, they don't have an excuse, as far as I'm concerned. So interesting. Thank you, Sharon. It's awesome. Moving on. This one's called Survival Guide Request. Every time I do that, I have more and more people. Hey, Mark, just want to say thanks for all that you do for that flat earth reality. You were instrumental in my awakening. I heard you on the WAAF radio station in Boston, Massachusetts, and thought you were effing crazy. But as you've already guessed, you weren't. Best wishes, Glenn Wilsley. Yeah, again, every interview that I do, in fact, I've got another one coming up tonight, as a matter of fact. Every interview that I do reaches out and grabs more people. And it's not my intention to convince them. It's not my intention to persuade them. It's just to put the idea into their head. And you do that through conviction and knowing your material. And that's what I do all the time, which is why I've done a whole, I don't even know what number the interview is going to be tonight. It's getting up there, though. It's surprising. I mean, I'm definitely into triple digits. So every time I do a broadcast like that, remember, it also goes into their archives. It has dividends that pay off in the back end. You get into their archive system. There's people that request it. There's people that download it. There's people that share it and tweet it. Because of social media, it just keeps spider webbing out more and more and more. And it's great. Also, why the YouTube platform and why I make my videos Creative Commons license. You can go and take them and use them for whatever you want. Moving on. This one's called Flat Earth. Dear Mark, I recently discovered that the Flat Earth theory and believe we do live on a stationary flat plane, but I recently discovered videos suggesting that the Flat Earth is a government psyop. What is your opinion on this? I believe it's a deep state trying to discredit the Flat Earth movement. That's from Big D. And no, I don't. I mean, if it is a psyop, it's part of such a big one that we can't even, we still don't know what the secondary and third acts are. My best guess right now is that you're still winding up. Remember that you have to introduce the Flat Earth to get people to open their minds to other things. But once you do that, you have to follow it up with something. You just can't leave it at Flat Earth. It's got to be something else like advanced civilizations, like I shouldn't say alien civilizations, but someone that's bigger than ourselves, because we're talking about creator. We're talking about the builders, whoever built this place. And that's what I think they're leading up to. Of course, they could also distract us with some sort of atomic weapon-based war. You know, they're still gearing up for the Korea thing. It drives me insane. It's like, what, because we're not going to do anything with Russia? Now it's going to be Korea? It kills me that every time they bring up Russia, oh, we're in tensions with Russia. It's like, look, you've been playing that record for 60 years now. Nobody's buying it anymore. I mean, yeah, some of the old guard are, grandfathers and older fathers. And it's like, oh yeah, Russian, better dead than red. And Russia, when have we ever squared off with them? Ever? Name me an incident once, and no, the Cuban Missile Crisis does not count. Name me an instance where the Russians and the Americans went head to head outside of Rambo movies. They haven't. So we have to make up an enemy. We have to do it. People crave the drama, and making sure that you have a distraction outside of your country keeps you from looking inside at your country. So even though North Korea is not a threat to anyone, why would they be? Who are they going to launch an attack against? Look who they're right next to. China, with 1 billion people. China could just stomp them out. Japan, we've got so many bases there, and plus they're a huge ocean away from the United States. They're not going to do anything. I mean, yeah, I suppose you could say they could launch a fake attack against Hawaii, but you know what? I could talk about this forever. I'm not going to. Back to emails. This followed up. This email is called Flat Earth Toddlers. Hey, Mark. Thrilled to hear you read my email and actually pronounced my name correctly. I do have a question. I have a 14-month-old baby girl. I refuse to let her watch these baby shows that are already teaching the sphere Earth. Are there any toddler, kid-friendly Flat Earth videos that would hold her attention? If not, us Flat Earth moms would love some. I have yet to find any. I would like to teach her young. Thanks for everything. That's from Flat Earth Tennessean. And her name is Chelsea. And no, I don't think we don't have any real young person. No, somebody should go out there and make it. That's an untapped market. Flat Earth for kids. I mean, young kids. I mean, right now the Flat Earth is digestible by a lot of different people, a lot of different demographics. But young kids under the age of 6, yeah, we need something like that. Somebody get a book out there, The Flat Earth World. Something, call it cute. If you don't, I will. Moving on. This one's called Nirvana Flat Earth Song for your playlist. Hi, Mark. You're always an inspiration. Always an inspiration on this flat, motionless, domed Earth. I hope you like Nirvana because they decided to make it a Flat Earth song about the dome. That's right, Mark. Enjoy it, my brother. That's 12 Flat Earth songs in just under 4 months. I'd call that an album. Anyhow, thanks for the inspiration, Mark. I literally could not have done it without you. It's called Dome in the Way. And there's a link. Thank you again, Zane. And yeah, in fact, the channel is literally called Zane. In fact, I'm amazed that nobody else picked that, especially with the whole Billy Zane thing. So it's Z-A-N-E. He does a whole bunch of Flat Earth music. I give it a thumbs up. And is he the best singer in the world? No, he is not. But at the same time, he makes Flat Earth music, so hey, great, fantastic. And it's creative. I love creativity, no matter where it comes from and what form it takes. I do appreciate the creativity side of things. So thank you, Zane, for that. Moving on. This one's called A Question. Hi, Mark. I've watched your videos and listened to your shows for many hours. My mind is cracked opened. Thanks for all you do. I think the sun and moon are only thousands of miles above us. Regarding the sun, if it's, say, only 3,000 miles above, why doesn't the temperature rise or increase instead of drop decrease as it does as one approaches the sun? Maybe you have addressed this already, but if you did, then I missed it. Best regards, Tom Hinson from Greenville, South Carolina. Let's see here. Regarding the sun, it's only 3,000 miles above. Why doesn't the temperature rise or increase instead of drop as it does? Oh, you mean as you go up? Mostly because the atmosphere is thinning. So, but it's a good question because the thermosphere. That's part of the question, but part of the answer. Let me answer this first part though. When you get up higher, the air molecules are thin out, and there's less to heat up. And so when you're flying, you're talking, and remember, commercial airliners cap out at about 10 miles, and most of the time you're not even flying at that. You're flying at like 7. You're in the air is so thin up there, not only could you not breathe it, remember, people start getting symptoms of altitude sickness around 7,000 feet. And it starts getting colder. Remember, I spent 20 years in Colorado. I could tell you all about altitude and temperature. When you get up there, you're talking about -20, -30 degrees when you're flying out there, it's very, very cold when you get up there. So it's just atmosphere, lack of it. Moving on. Let's see here. Question. Okay, get rid of that. This one's called Dale's Paper. Mark, I just finished listening to your interview with Dale, and you mentioned you would send the link to anyone who emailed you. Could you please send it? I love your interviews and your work. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Merry Christmas! J. Rusty Stafford. And what he's talking about is a paper that Dale mentioned in the interview called it The Throne of God, where he was trying to create sort of his own version of the unified theory. And it's not for the lighthearted, but I still have it on my machine. I still send it out, I don't know, once or twice a week to people who asked for it. And it's called, in fact, I'm looking at it on my machine right now. It's called Harmony. It's a PDF file. If anyone wants it, if you're looking for something that will, I won't say blow your mind, but definitely send your mind in different directions, let me know. All you have to do is say, hey, I want Dale's Paper, or I want the Throne of God, or I want Harmony. And I'll do the same thing I do with the empty shelves, and I'll just shoot it off to you. It's not, I think it's 6 megs, but yeah, not light reading, not for the faint of heart. Moving on. This next one's called Flat Earth and Snipers. Mark, so my husband asked me a question when I was discussing your video with him after making me feel like an idiot for even entertaining the idea it could be flat. Why, when snipers take long shots, do they have to account for the curvature of the Earth if the Earth is in fact flat? I thought you may perhaps have an answer. That's from Bobby Joe. I won't say her last name. But I did write her back already on this. So here's the thing when it comes to snipers. Because I have several scopes on several different rifles. And when it comes to scopes, anyone who shoots or knows people who shoot, look, there's only 2 settings on a scope. There's windage and there's elevation. Windage covers, the wind that's going one direction or the other, and elevation covers that. elevation. So there's no, and believe me, I small arms was one of my things, one of my little hobbies when I was growing up. I grew up in the the 80s, and when the assault weapons ban was just taking off like a rocket. No play on words there. And when it comes to small arms, I can tell you, I've never, ever run into anything, up until very, very recently, about shots that had to cover the curvature of the Earth calculations. And let me take this in two directions. One, I already read a statement, wow, a year and a half ago, by a sniper trainer for the United States military, who said, that it was a sniper trainer for 3 years, said that never once was it ever mentioned in a manual, was never mentioned in a chart, and he did not teach the curvature of the Earth, or the Coriolis effect, which is also known as the spin of the Earth. Those two things come into play. It's not just the curvature of the Earth you'd have to worry about. The bigger one is the spin. Because remember, you have a variable spin depending on where you are on this Earth. Because if we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, that mileage per hour, MPH, starts dropping as you get to one or the other poles. Because at the North Pole, it'd be 0 miles an hour. Remember that if you're on a merry-go-round, if you're on the edge, you're holding on to dear life, otherwise you're going to get thrown into the monkey bars. But if you are in the center of the merry-go-round, you feel nothing. You just turn around in a circle and hopefully don't get sick for being dizzy. But I mean, you turn slowly in a circle, and that's what we're talking about, the North Pole. And you're saying, okay, what does this got to do with a sniper? The point is that you would have to take that into account for the snipers. Remember, snipers are shooting distances of less than 1 mile most of the time. Even if you have a Barrett 50 cal, you would be shooting, maybe a mile. But that's nothing compared to the other long distance shooters. By that I mean tanks. By that I mean cannons, like howitzers. By that I mean missiles. Remember, I've already had a tank guy from the United States Army. I've had howitzer artillery instructors from the United States Army. I've had missile instructors. All these guys say the same thing, and that's, look, we're firing at 20, 30, 50 miles. Forget about this 1 mile crap. He goes, we're definitely not taking into the curvature of the Earth, and we're not taking into the account the Coriolis effect. So I go way past that, and then work my way back to snipers. Kind of like the high altitude balloon footage, where people say, oh yeah, I can see the curvature from an airplane, right? I go, really? You can see the curvature of the Earth from an airplane? Fine. Here's a video. We've all seen the videos that are out there of someone that's a video at 121,000 feet or higher, showing the absolute flatness of the horizon. So if it's flat at 120,000 feet, how is it curved at 30,000 feet? And you can see it. Same thing with the sniper instructor. If the artillery guys, if the missile guys, if the tank guys, if they're all saying the same thing, that they're not using any curvature formula or the Coriolis effect, then at 20 miles, 30 miles, 50 miles, then what the heck is a sniper doing? Sniper is just saying that for effect. He's just saying it for dramatic effect. That's all he's doing. He's saying it because the media wants to hear it. The media loves that stuff. Yeah, actually, he made a shot so far, he had to actually take into account the curvature of the Earth. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He took into account elevation, distance. That's all he did. That's all he did. He took a lob shot. Because remember, bullets, they will fall to the ground like anything else. He had to make a lob shot. That's all he had to do. Curvature of the Earth. Come on. And throw one more thing. The rail gun. The new Navy rail gun that supposedly fires at 100 miles. At 100 miles, that is a massive curvature. And that is an unguided projectile. Unguided. Meaning it's just shooting at just a rock. So are you taking into account the curvature of the Earth when you're firing that 100 miles? Because that's thousands and thousands and thousands of feet of curvature. So what's happening there? Sorry, I could go out. This is one of my little pet topics. So, but I'd let Bobby Joe know all this stuff, and I sent her the link. If you guys want the link to all the testimony experts, if anyone ever brings up that crap, all you have to do is go into YouTube and type in Flat Earth testimony shows. And that will list off all the military guys and all the civilian guys. But the military guys, they all say the same thing. And to this day, not one military person has come out against Flat Earth. I have yet to receive a call from United States Navy, Army, Air Force, and Marines, Merchant Marine, Coast Guard. Nobody has come out. And no, I've even gotten a message from one of these guys and said, you're full of crap. I'd love to bring him on the show. And yet, I never hear it. Never. Anyway. Moving on. This one's called Hello. What's this one called? It's called Flat Earth Antarctic Tours. Hello, Mark. I have an idea for a great Flat Earth test. It would be a pretty costly test unless you know of 3 people that are planning to take one of the 3 public tour trips to Antarctica. I was watching a Flat Earth live show on YouTube this evening, but can't remember who by. But something sparked my curiosity. There was mention of 3 destinations on Antarctica that the general public could tour to. Like number 1 was from New Zealand, number 2 was from South Africa, and number 3 was from South America. Makes sense? My idea is to follow is as follows. If 3 people were to take a trip to one to each destination and arrange for it to be on the same day. Any day will do as long as all 3 people land on Antarctica at the same calendar day. Then they all say they want to visit the South Pole, which is supposed to be 200 miles from the coast from one of the locations to meet their friends. They all offer to charter a plane to the South Pole. I bet only one would be able to do it, as the other 2 would not be able to get a flight and all meet up. Thus being another example that the 3 land points are not hundreds of miles apart, but many thousands of miles apart. If they could get all the flights to meet up at the so-called South Pole, one flight would be a couple of hours, the other 2 would be so-called long haul, many hours, and over open sea, which would totally blow the idea as to Antarctica being a single island type land mass. It would be a pretty costly venture unless you could find 3 pretty wealthy travelers to take part. Yes, that's probably the big one here. Just an idea to see if it would even be possible to plan such trips and make all the arrangements needed to meet at the so-called South Pole from all 3 points. Could you even get a flight from all 3 starting destinations, New Zealand, South Africa, and South America, to the South Pole? And if so, would need to be timed to work out the distances traveled. Is it even possible to get a so-called GPS reading at the South Pole? Thank you for taking the time to read this. Keith Miles. Yeah, no, it's a good idea, but you pretty much ran into your one big hurdle, and that is cost. Antarctica is not going to be the cure-all for this thing. But it's a nice idea. I again, like thinking outside the box. No one has proposed that one to me. It's good. I like it. Do we have time for a couple more? Yes, we do. And I think I get some neat. This one's called Flat Earth Appreciation. Mark, over the past several weeks, I've been looking deeper into hidden truths of the Bible, things that have been fabricated and or left out. I then stumbled upon your Flat Earth Clues on YouTube. It's all coming together. I can't unsee the truth. Of course, it's not something I'm able to talk about with anyone, unless I want to look loony. So I'm thankful to know there is a growing awareness thanks to you and your fellow Flat Earthers. God bless. Leah Goldensoff. I'd never heard that name before in my life, but I've dated a girl named Leah. So thank you for that, Leah. Wait, was there a question in there? No. Okay. Next one. Crop circles. That's what it's called. It's called crop circles. Hi, Mark. I just wondering what your thoughts were on crop circles. I've seen videos claiming that some are hoaxes, but would like to know your thoughts on this. Thank you. Best regards, Lucy K. Yeah, Lucy, when it comes to crop circles, I'm a believer, and I still am. I was following crop circles back as soon as the internet went up, as soon as people were recording the crop circles that were out in the wheat fields. A lot of them were in England, but then what happened was, here, I'll give you a quick little story on the whole English crop circles thing. There was a British newspaper that said that all the crop circles were done by these 2 older gentlemen that were in a bar. And I thought that was really interesting because just before that story came out, I remembered there was another story that the same newspaper was offering £50,000 to anyone that could prove that they made crop circles. And that's not a small amount of money, especially for a newspaper. And this was in the early 90s. £50,000, you got to remember, that's about $75,000 American in the early 90s. That's a little chunk of change. And these 2 old guys came out of nowhere with some boards and string and said, oh yeah, totally, we did it. And it's like, wait, you did all the crop circles? And it was a great piece of disinformation. Fantastic. Because a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, because people want to believe in a simple explanation. It's like, well, it's those 2 guys. It's like, really? They did like you want to look up the huge monstrous crop circle? Look up Milk Hill. It was covered like 500,000 square feet over rolling terrain, and it was something so intricate. It would have taken me a week with Photoshop to draw it accurately. And these guys supposedly did it with boards and string in an evening. Come on. And I know we're going to break here, but if you forget about those guys, if you think that those guys did all the crop circles, it wasn't just England; it was all over. You look up crop writing, look up a town in the now gone Soviet Union called Krasnodar. The Krasnodar crop writing. Look at the pictures of that thing. We're talking about square miles of wasn't even crop circles. It looked like text that was being written in the fields, and it just happened over an evening next to a major highway. So when all the people start commuting the next day, they're driving by. It's like, what the heck happened over this thing? And if anyone if you can't find it online, look up Krasnodar writing. I will send it to you. All you do is email me and say, I want to see the crop writing. I've got a couple shots on my machine here. I'm sure you can find it. It's still out there. But yeah, crop circles, absolutely real. Now, who they are? Probably older civilizations. Anyway, we'll come back, finish up this thing. Talk to you guys soon.
It seems to me so strange. Check wallet for his name. His face is in the muck. I think his zipper's stuck.
Welcome back to Strange World, part 4 of 4, and yes, that was Joe Jackson stemming out from his album Night and Day. Okay, we got the last segment here, and let's just get right into the emails. You can email me at msargent23@comcast.net, and emails are normally answered in the order they are received. However, as you know, I'm just going through the system. If I'm not paying attention, I can accidentally click up higher on the list. Happens every once in a while. Not often, though. Okay. This one's called Mark Be Careful. I don't get a lot of ones called Mark Be Careful. Hi, Mark. You're a great guy, and I love what you're doing. I'm probably spinning my wheels as you're a very intelligent man. I don't know if I'd say that. I would be very cautious eating anything you receive in the mail. Many people love you, but clearly there are many nuts who would love to take you out of the picture. I, for one, would be very sad should anything happen to you. Sincerely, Magic Art from Las Vegas. And his quote is, "Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Magic Art." Thank you, Art. And yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, most of the time people send me production stuff anyway. I've literally had, boxes of Oreos and Nilla wafers because people send me cookies. You can send me whatever you want, though. It doesn't really matter. If you send me homemade stuff, I generally will eat it. I don't mind. I've had bunches of stuff sent to me, stuff in plastic containers, and it's not like anyone's going to poison me. And I don't know why they would anyway. I mean, in fact, I've never, out of all the, I shouldn't say that. Out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of emails I've gotten, very few have been hate mail. And with the exception of the one guy who's supposedly on crack, I've received really no death threats. I've had some violent threats every once in a while, but very, very rarely. So yeah, if you want to send something, just email me, and I will send you my home email address, and you can send me whatever you want. It's cool. Totally fine. I don't care. God, I've never been. You can't live your life in fear, and I've always had a belief that I've been somewhat protected over the years. So, whatever. All right, this one's called. But thank you for your concern. That is appreciated. This one's called I Have a Question. Mark, my name is Kyle, and thank you for waking me up. I am 38. I always knew something was wrong with the world, and it started to wake up about 3 years ago. 9/11, Sandy Hook, chemtrails, NASA. One by one I sought answers, and one by one I found what I sought. Flat Earth is by far the most amazing thing hidden in plain sight. I'm trying to open the minds of those around me that I meet and tell them to Google Flat Earth clues, and I have many answers for them about everything I have learned, but either I don't remember or I didn't hear it. What about lunar eclipses? I know 100% the Flat Earth is truth. Thank you for delivering the truth, Kyle. And yeah, Kyle, the lunar eclipses, and I'll pull up the other thing right now. Lunar eclipses is one of the 5 science questions that I throw at anybody in the academic field. I just like, look, because you can't give them too many questions right away from the Flat Earth side because they'll just freak them out. And they like stuff that they can dig into scientifically. First one I use is long distance photography. The second is vacuum versus the gravity force. The third is the eclipse shadow. The fourth is moon temperature. And the 5 is my lovely, famous Van Allen belt trap question. But the third one is the eclipse shadow, which is lunar eclipses. That falls into our realm very easily. And that is, if you say, mainstream science, that the moon is 2,000 miles wide. I know it's a little bigger than that, but let's round it down to 2,000. People like round numbers. 2,000 miles wide. Why does it only cast a 70-mile wide blackout shadow on the Earth? That is a 97% decrease in the size of the shadow. Show me where you can do this down here. Show me how you can create a microscopic shadow. It'd be like you walking next to a wall with the sun at your back, or whatever side. Sun's out in the distance, and the shadow on the wall of you is reduced to the size of an action figure. Show me where that happens in real life, ever. In all the years of the millions and millions and billions of pictures that have been taken, show me where an optical effect has created a small shadow. And not just a small shadow, a really small shadow. A 97% decrease in shadow. Show me where you can do that. And let's see science spin its wheels. Moving on. This one's called Throne of God. Mark, can you please send me the Throne of God, please? Just so you know, the paper is called Harmony. I know he called it Throne of God. I don't know why he didn't change it, though. He's just lazy. Yeah, I've got it on my machine. I will send it to you. That is from Dale. It's one of my subject matter experts. I think he was the air traffic controller, if I'm not mistaken. Good enough guy. And he gave me his paper, and I've been giving it out to people. So if you want it, just let me know in an email. I will shoot it to you. This one's called No Subject. Hi, excuse me, Mark, but I have a proposition for you. Would you be down to have a live one-on-one Google Hangout discussion with YouTuber Aaron Ra? Oh, right. On his channel to discuss about Flat Earth. He's been looking for honest, sincere Flat Earthers, but none will engage with him. He's a scientist. Will you accept? Okay. I had the chance. I was the first person to had a chance to, way before he realized that Flat Earth wasn't going away. It was just getting bigger and bigger. And the reason why this email was sent to me was because he shot it off to a bunch of different people simultaneously. But this round was far. We had a thing. Good Lord, it was, I think, like a year ago now, and there was a couple reasons why I didn't do it. The big one is he's coming at it from a anti-religious side, meaning he's an atheist, and I mean he claims that he's the head of an atheist group. And he's trying to attack it from the religious angle, which is fine. But I'm not the guy that you wanna do that with. Yeah, I can quote some chapter and verse, sure, but I'm not as good as others like Zen Garcia or Rob Skiba or Robbie Davidson, just to name a few. There's a whole bunch of guys out there that deal with the Flat Earth from a biblical standpoint. So if that's the road he wants to go down, that's fine. But there are better targets. The other thing is that he doesn't have anything else to back it up. He says he's a scientist, but what's he got a master's degree in? That's my challenge right now. I'm only going to debate people that, because scientists will with a master's degree or higher will at least debate me rationally. Somebody in a physical science, whether it doesn't have to be astrophysics or astronomy, it could also be geology, hydrology, biology, archaeology, it doesn't really matter. Computer science is probably not there because that's just a tech guy. Even though I did have a guy who said he had a master's in computer science, which is fine. I mean, they would be absolutely a globe-based person, but I don't think but it's not gonna help the cause too much. The reason why I asked for that degree nowadays is there's too many people out there, just armchair critics, that they use the three things that drive me insane, and that is they either do name calling, or do profanity, or do a combination of name calling and profanity, or they yell. They try to overtalk you, and none of those three things are a rebuttal. Look, name calling isn't a rebuttal, profanity isn't a rebuttal, and neither is yelling, raising your voice. Just because you get angry, and again, you've got what they forget is why they are upset in the first place. Why are you yelling? Why are you immediately trying to make a personal attack? It's like, you're an idiot, you're dumb, you're an effing retard, and yelling this at the top of their lungs. You're only doing this because you're conditioning. At least the scientist can work their way past that initial knee-jerk response and get into the whole indignation part of it, which is, it's like, where is this coming from? It's like, and then they try to use historical references. We've known for the long. No, you haven't known. You didn't know anything about anything. That's the part that science misses, which I love calling them out on, which is, you were told this. Remember, water is wet, fire burns, you drop something, it falls to the ground. That could be gravity. But when it comes to the shape of the earth, this is something you've been told. In fact, it's something you've been told quite recently. People say, well, no, we've known since, even if, I love when they go say, oh, no, before Copernicus, that part. When anyone ever says, no, we knew 2,000 years ago, oh, great. So somebody start calling the universities. You can burn all the books that were written by Copernicus. Anything that references Copernicus, you can just burn that. Because if you're saying that we absolutely knew 2,000 years ago, then why is Copernicus even a name to be brought up in the world of science? We didn't know 2,000 years ago. You thought you knew 2,000 years ago. You thought you proved it through geometry and trigonometry. You thought you did. But the truth is, and again, I don't quote Matt too many times, but I use it. That is, until you get high enough in a vehicle to look at the Earth, what do you really know? Until you get up there, what do you really know? It's still just a theory. And that's when things change. Again, the line from George Orwell, which I love so much, which is why I put it in the description of every, if you scroll down far enough, it's not, my descriptions aren't too big, but if you scroll down far enough, you'll see a quote by George Orwell, the creator of 1984. He wrote in 1946, where he said, it's interesting. Remember, he's not a flat earther when he wrote this, and he still isn't, because he's dead. When he wrote this, he was saying you could ask the average person on the street how you know the world is a globe, and they'll say, well, we just know. And if you try to press it on it, they'll get angry. What's interesting about that is that was 1946. NASA wasn't even founded until 1958, 12 years later. So how did everybody know in 1946 that it was a globe? It was because science told them. And 1946 could be considered the modern era, technically. I mean, yeah, it was right after World War II and everything was still smoldering, but it was still the modern era. Still had cars, we had airplanes, radio, some modern conveniences, not air conditioning and stuff like that. So how did we know? It's because science told you. What if they were wrong? Sorry, that's my little thing. So, no, the Aaron Ra thing, probably not going to happen. I'd like to see somebody else go after him, though, if possible. You've been exposed, one of the bigger channels. Love to see Aaron Ra go off against. I mean, look, he's getting into it great. Bigger channels coming at us, fantastic. I love it. I just don't know if I'm the right choice for that sort of debate. Moving on. This one's called Following Your Posts. Mark, I thought I would take the time and email you to let you know I've been following this topic now for several months. There's a lot of info on it now, and I wondered if you might do a show where thermal physicists, scientists, pilots, land surveyors, and other professionals from academia could do a debate. I'm interested to see what their answer would be. It seems like some of us would have grown up and figured out that most things just don't add up. Also, more Antarctica topics would be nice. Great job. Best regulated Vic. There's a lot of info. I'm wondering you might do a show where thermal physicists, scientists, pilots, and land surveyors could do a debate. Yeah, it's not a bad idea to get more of these guys, more of the subject matter experts to talk about themselves. But it's not a debate. Though, in fact, I have yet to run in. Right now, the only guys I have are pro flat Earth. I have yet to run into anyone from a scientific standpoint. Again, which is why I'm asking. I put the declaration of war out there. Find me somebody from an academic niche that's willing to come out against flat Earth on the record. They don't want to do it. They don't want to put their name out there. Heck, it's hard enough for us to even get guys to use their real names, let alone academics. It's frustrating sometimes. Excuse me. Get a drink of water. Okay. This one's called Phone Call. Video promo 1. Dear Mark, happy holidays. I'm pleased to share with you that we have launched the Kickstarter page for Flat Earth Race to the Edge. Would appreciate if you could check out the page and video so you can put my face to my voice. Oh yeah, the Kickstarter for the video game, Flat Earth Race to the Edge. So if you guys get a chance, you can go to kickstarter.com. They're going to make a video game on it. Let me know if you're ever in the Bay Area. My dad and I would love to have you over. Best regards, Landon, Director of Marketing. Fantastic. Great. So yeah, if you guys ever get a chance, go to Kickstarter. I'm sorry, go to the big one. If you know what, let me just give you the name of the website, which is i80games.com, which would be Interstate 80. So i80games.com. So the letter I, 80games.com. But the Kickstarter campaign is called Flat Earth Race to the Edge. So check it out. This one's called I Can Prove the Earth is Round. Please read my reasoning. Mark, I accept the challenge. The Earth is round. Reason 1, so many people would have to be in on it. Reason 2, North Korea would have exposed the fraud the United States have committed by the fake moon landing with their wannabe rocket launches. Reason 3, you are a shill. God. See what I mean? This is why I don't debate normal people. You're in command of drumming down civilization into thinking the Earth was flat. And he's using that past tense, thank you, which means I already did it. P.S. You stated numbers of times that the Earth has around 18 million hits on YouTube, when in fact it's more like 5 million hits. P.S. You are fake news. Oh my God. And this is from a guy called Cisco. Let me see if I can find his real email address. See a reply. Real quick. His real email address is ottawaguy2020@gmail.com. So we can disregard that, but I got to read it real quick. So, and I actually wrote this guy back. So yeah, reason 1, so many people would have to be on it. You've heard me explain it many times. No, it's the opposite. Nobody would have to be in on it. They would have to be virtually nobody, because need to know applies to this. 2, North Korea. Are you kidding me? Any news that comes out of North Korea is news that's manufactured by us. Plain and simple. Because remember, North Korea has their own news system, their own television, their own radio. Anything that comes out of North Korea would absolutely, even if they did release a headline, would be filtered through the United States media machine. So if they said that the United States, I'm sure they have said that the United States moon program was fake. But who are they going to tell? Remember, if the media is controlled, who are you going to get to? Kind of like if you were going to whistleblow on a corporation or something here in the United States, who exactly would you go to at this point? Who? What television station are you going to call up? Because if it's an affiliate, it's going to be tied to the networks. The networks is tied to the main Associated Press. Everything is run through producers, and everything is monitored. So who would you tell? And that hasn't changed for a long time. Reason 3, you were a shill. Very nice. And in the command of dumbing down, he actually wrote that wrong, and it says drumming down. Civilization. No, I don't think that civilization is necessarily dumbed down. It comes off a little bit like Idiocracy, the movie, but I don't think that civilization has been dumbed down as much as their priorities have changed. So when you ask the average person on the street, where a certain country is on the map, of course they're not going to know, because they don't care. That's the bigger difference. But if you ask them who's the best looking character on Game of Thrones, they're going to say, probably without even blinking, they go, oh, Jaime Lannister. And who's the most famous reality show family? And they'll probably say, oh, the Kardashians. Oh, and what's the latest version of the iPhone or whatever it is. Their priorities have changed. That's what's really different. And then as far as the other PS that he was mentioning to me, were the 18 million hits versus 5 million hits. No. I've stated that many, many times, and that was pointed out to me. I didn't come up with that. It was Bob from Globebusters. All the filters in YouTube used to be the same, and now they have changed. So when you type in flat Earth, or in fact, start out with something simple. Type in Lady Gaga into YouTube and just hit the search thing. You'll come up with a certain number of million of hits. But if you set the filter to sort it by upload date, it'll give you the real number, which I think for Lady Gaga actually comes in at like 16 million. If you type in flat Earth without filters, it comes in at 5. If you hit the upload by upload date, it comes in at 18.8 as of this morning, which is a lot. But if you type in like Donald Trump, that number will be higher generally, but if you sort by upload date, it won't change much, which is interesting. It's like they're taking certain topics and they're stat squishing them. So Donald Trump comes in a little higher than us at like 20 or 21 million. But that's pretty amazing considering he's the president of the United States, whereas we're just a theory that has almost no marketing dollars behind him. And again, Lady Gaga, huge marketing machine. Yeah, she hasn't had an album in a little while, but she was a monstrous media sensation for a long time, and we're still trending higher than she is. Anyway, moving on. Thank you for that, Ottawa guy. It's not like I don't read troll. I just don't get a lot of troll emails, so I have to read them every once in a while. I get a lot of troll comments, but I don't generally read those. This one's called Word. Mark, just finished watching your video for the 6th or 7th time. As you are probably aware, it is a lot to take in. So much I would like to hear about concerning the topic that is so controversial and see how I can relate it to music. We tend to give everything a label of measurement, a category, almost as if it is a filing system and we are the administrators given the task of indexing the contents. I am a musician aiming to reach people with a message that means something, and me being a rebel, I'm sure this is the truth I resonate with and look forward to catching more brain food. Brain food? Just call me Drummy. Peace and love as you stride. Cool. Thanks, Drummy. A musician named Drummy. Go figure. All right, we got time for a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up. This one's called Hi, this is a YouTube fan. I have something interesting for you. Love the channel. So I have something for you that you may find interesting that I caught from the last SpaceX flight that appeared on December 22nd, 2017. I downloaded the video so I can't get that removed, and also captured it on my cell phone. I caught them editing the video during live broadcast multiple times to the point it's unbelievable. Is there a way I can send you the link to the video or send you my downloaded copy? I don't know how to reach out to people on YouTube besides commenting. Thanks for your time. God bless. And yes, I will have him. I'll put that into my to-do pile. I'll shoot it off to him. I would love to see that. Yeah, SpaceX is a piece of crap. Basically anything that Elon Musk says at all is just awful. Every time he opens his mouth, it is a lie. Plain and simple. I understand. Yeah, he's got $20 billion. I get that. But that does not mean, it's because sort of like the Bill Nye thing, it doesn't mean he's an authority on anything. He didn't invent SpaceX. It was engineers that invented. He didn't invent Tesla. Right? He just bought Tesla outright. SpaceX, yeah, he financed it, but he's got a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. No, I'm sorry. That's Bill Nye. Elon is even worse. He's got a bachelor's degree in physics. He doesn't even turn wrenches. He builds nothing. Yes, he made $20 billion. But it does not, and I know when people are billionaires, you want to hear their opinion on certain things. But here's the equivalent. Warren Buffett is a billionaire, right? He makes billions of dollars because of his investment strategy. Does that mean that people should ask him his position, his opinion on the mechanics of building electric cars? No. Or a space program? No. It's just that Elon Musk owns 2 companies that happen to be technology based. That's why they ask him. He's got $20 billion. It's just, what's the equivalent? Okay, here's the equivalent. I'll give you a gaming reference. Ready? In Warcraft, I'm one of the wealthier guys in Warcraft. Always have been. I know how to make gold in Warcraft. In gold pieces, I think I've got the equivalent of what, 12, 13 billion in adjusted dollars in Warcraft. You know, if you take each gold piece, you know, assuming it's like a 1 ounce gold coin. Does that mean that people should ask me my opinion on how to spec paladins? No, it doesn't. Or how to organize a raid in Warcraft? No, it doesn't. All they can ask me on is how I made gold in Warcraft. That's it. That's the equivalent of Elon. That's the part that bugs me about Elon Musk. Why he's put on these panels asking about what reality is. He abandoned his PhD program after like 2 days. He made his money. He made his initial early money, I think, off PayPal, when PayPal was first created before it went public. That's where he made his money. I think he made like his first 100 million off of PayPal. Anyway, enough of Elon Musk. I hate the guy. Love to debate him. If he ever wants to debate me, I'd love to sit down in a room with that guy. But I doubt if that'll ever happen. Okay, last one, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. This one's called The Magic of Gravity. Probably a good one to end on. Greetings, Mark. Until researching Flat Earth, I never knew nor understood just how much mainstream science leans upon gravity to explain the otherwise unexplainable. For instance, they use gravity to explain how spacecraft can exit the Earth and maintain course towards the moon or other celestial bodies despite our solar system moving through the galaxy at ridiculous speeds. Why doesn't our world move away from something unattached to it? Their answer is always gravity. It makes me wonder what exactly they think our world is moving away from when everything else in our universe seems to follow it. This leads me to the purpose of sending this email. Now the Earth's curvature has been debunked using modern HD cameras. I suspect gravity will become the crutch science leans upon once again to explain how objects that are far away can become visible. In other words, gravity bends light, and gravity keeps bullets in a straight trajectory over long distances. It will likely become science's new mantra. Be ready for this, and if or when you debate scientists, I have a feeling that is the direction they'll be forced to go with all the new evidence refuting their previous claims. Regards, Jeff. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jeff. We got like a minute left. Gravity is literally, I didn't know it was. I thought that initially that the Flat Earth community was kind of hyping that up a little much, where they kept saying that they use gravity for everything. No, they're not kidding. Gravity is used for pretty much everything. It is in fact one of my 5 big scientific questions is that is their argument for how the atmosphere is kept on the globe, which is gravity. Gravity holds the oceans down. It holds the atmosphere down. It keeps the power of the vacuum of space at bay. Really? That's it? Gravity? And their answer is kind of reversed. It's like, well, if it wasn't, the atmosphere would be gone. So it has to work. That's the only reason. It's like, no, you're eliminating the biggest other alternative explanation, which is it is a flat, enclosed, pressurized system. That's why the atmosphere is still here. Because if you have lighter than oxygen, stuff that already floats up, like helium, hydrogen, fluorocarbons, all that stuff, when it flies up there, you know where I'm going with this. Anyway, enough of that. I'll see you guys next week. Same flat time, same flat channel.